Okay, so let's start and everybody will settle down while talking. So, my name is Davor Popovic and I will talk today about the war stories from the working with the OpenWrt industries. First, I would like to introduce myself shortly. I am a big Linux enthusiast. I work as a developer at a company named Sartura, based in Croatia, Zagreb. And most of our work revolves around the OpenWrt, from development, providing support, testing for different customers, providing solutions, and so on. So, what would I like to talk about in this presentation is to provide an overview of creating OpenWrt-based solutions for different customers, and also give some of the advantages or disadvantages when working with OpenWrt along as I speak. And what this presentation is not in-depth tutorial or how-to on creating the OpenWrt-based solutions themselves. So, first thing everybody asks when starting working with OpenWrt is, why would somebody choose to work with OpenWrt in general? What we think in a company, and what I think personally, maybe because of some of these reasons. For example, it is a free Linux distribution. We all know what Linux is, how Linux functions, and that it can be obtained and modified, and you can do with it everything you want, basically. And OpenWrt is no exception. It is easily modified and configured. It has a certain set of tools which are provided by default, which you can use for creating your own solutions, such as UBus, UCI, etc., etc. It is very reliable. It is currently, as we speak, working on I don't know how many devices in the world at this moment stably, and it is reliable and in the market since, I don't know now, 5 years approximately. It has a very good community background. It is community supported, and very good thing is that everybody can contribute to community in different ways. And from the developer's perspective, it also offers an impressive package support. So basically, if you are at home, you can download the build root of OpenWrt and create the images yourself. You can have a fully functional router with the set of packages that are provided in the base of the OpenWrt. When we talk about working with the customers and working with OpenWrt for the customers, the first thing, the first starting phase is getting the requirements. Now, we as developers get some set of requirements, some form as a PDF or some table, which describes what the final product has to do, how the final product has to function. And then what we noticed in a company, for example, is the more detailed requirements are, there is less misunderstanding and you can start working immediately. Why? Because usually the OpenWrt provides for the same problem different solutions. And when you have detailed requirements, you can pinpoint out which of the packages, for example, to use from 5 of them to solve this issue, solve this problem. So this would be it is very good to have detailed requirements, but at the end of the day, if the requirements are not detailed, our job is to finish the product, and you will have to implement them regardlessly. Once when you have requirements figured out and discussed it with the team, then you have to obtain the OpenWrt. Now, from our experience, how do we obtain the OpenWrt when working with the customers? Some customers provide us their own version of the OpenWrt. So you have one of the releases, and on top of it you have the patches from the customer, and they say start working with this, and this is the base that you will use. On the other hand, there are opposite cases when customers ask us to create some certain set of patches on top of OpenWrt release and provide this back to them. We also had the cases when we got a set of boards from a customer and we had to port all of the stable releases, AA, BB, and CC on them. We had the biggest problem porting the oldest one, the AA release. We had the toolchain problems there, and also some of the packages that we were using were no longer their link from where they are obtained was no longer active. This is because OpenWrt does not provide the support for the old releases, and when this happens, you have to fix this yourself. And we did it at the end and provide the customer the solution this way. Once when you have the requirements done, usually you might find that some of the requirements are not your strong area, or that you are not maybe familiarized with it so much. And then what you can do, you can always refer to the OpenWrt documentation. When I say documentation, I mean wiki pages, mailing lists, forums, where you can always ask questions when you're stuck and wait for the response or read the documentation from wiki. But what we noticed as well, that sometimes documentation might not be up to date and not detailed enough or completely missing. But the good point from OpenWrt perspective is that you can always write this documentation which is missing. You can figure out how to configure something, how it should work, how it should behave, and then write this documentation down on the wiki pages or on forums in some discussions, and participate in the community in this way. Working with images, once when you have researched the requirements, read the documentation, you start creating first testing images. Now, this is something, for example, we had customers for which we were creating images, and the new version of GCC appeared. It was the version 5, and we had to create the image, but we could not, because we could not compile the toolchain for 0.6, which was used in this project because of some of the compatibility issues between those versions, GCC 5 and the toolchain for 6. So what we did, we had two solutions that we could apply. One is to patch it and to use the patches, provide patches for our customers. But what we did instead, we created the Docker containers, which had Ubuntu version inside. And this Ubuntu version was using GCC 4.8, which could compile the toolchain 4.6 version. Not only that we managed to compile it this way, but we also had the benefit of the virtualization technology. We then used this container and provided it to our customer so that they can use the same principles and have the exactly same setup as we did for creating the images. So this is one of the examples when working with images, creating images for customers, what we might run into. Also, we had one customer, now this was a frustrating case. We had one customer for which we had to build the images, and we created the images. This was very easy. We provided them back the detailed instructions on how to do it, but they just couldn't build it. And they sent us back, we cannot build this, check it out, what's wrong. We did it again, we built it again. And after this ping pong of we can, they can't, we realized that inside of their company, they had a firewall which was blocking downloading of all of the packages, source of the packages for compiling the image. And this was, and then what we did, we provided them the DL folder. This is the folder in OpenWrt which holds the sources of all of the packages used in the build. We provided this back to them, and they're using the same as we did. But this was a very frustrating case because we were thinking, how can we build this image, but they cannot build the same exact image with exact steps. This was very, we lost about a month on that, or maybe so, to figure out, to realize that they have a firewall set up. So also what I would say here regarding the images, for example, home users which want to play around OpenWrt, they can just get the pre-built images from OpenWrt pages and flash it, use it, play it around. Also, the build system of OpenWrt in general is very straightforward. So you just have to make menu config, choose what you need, make, and you will get the image if everything goes okay. But what might be missing, or what might have been better explained, is the adding of new board supports into OpenWrt in general. Once before you start building the image, in general, OpenWrt without packages in the background is not OpenWrt. So you have to select the certain set of packages you need when creating an images, as we all know. And when working with clients, sometimes you have to do some modifications of the existing packages or add some custom packages or something similar. For example, we had the cases when we had to use the source code of our customers and create the packages from it. We also had cases where we had to create our source code and pack it and send back to the clients. We also had cases where clients asked us to debug some packages. This is now the question might be why we didn't mainline these changes. Well, first of all, when you're doing something with the client, with the customer, you always have to listen what they want to do with it. And if they don't want to mainline it for some reason, then there is nothing to do about it. We always try to initiate this talk and always try to say to our customers that mainlining is a good thing to get back to the community, and at the end of the day, this depends largely on their decision, if to mainline it or not. Also, what customers might ask is to modify the existing behavior of some packages. For example, we had a case where we had to modify the OHTTPD, which is the HTTP server for OpenWrt, to fit the needs of Captive Portal. Captive Portal is a page, for example, when you try to log on onto this network in the hotel, you have to enter some credentials to go to online in general. So we had to modify the OHTTP for this behavior. This is one of the examples which comes to mind now, and this is not so rare case that you are asked to modify some existing package for the client. In general, OpenWrt provides very impressive support, very impressive package support, as we said it before, and the packages also follow the same principle on creating of easy make system as the whole OpenWrt. You have to create make files, update your feeds, and they will be included in the next build if you select them. What we also encountered is, for example, when we do some changes on packages, create some patches, and we want to mainline them, we send them to the developer, to the maintainer of the package, and we sometimes encounter long talks with the developers before the patches are actually being mainlined. And from the customer's perspective, these talks could be a waste of time, if it will be mainlined, if it will be not mainlined. So the customer sometimes might also have this in mind when they don't want to mainline some changes. Also, we encounter that sometimes some packages are for some reason neglected by developers. They are just left there and they're no longer supported in newer versions, and then you will have to create to bump the version or create some new patches for this in order to get it working. And if also, as I said, if the customers decided to mainline it, then mainline it later on. What we encounter as well when we work with the OpenWrt is working with the proprietary software. Now, in general, proprietary software should be something that you just get the binaries, for example, install it, and it should work out of the box. But this is not always the case. For example, we had a case where we had the drivers for one of the devices which was attached on the board, and we install it and continue developing, and it seemed to be working fine. But then we hit one corner case, which happens rarely, because it's a corner case, and we notice that the driver is not functioning properly. And what happens then? You have no freedom to do anything about it. It's a binary, you cannot see the code, you cannot change it, you cannot do patches, you cannot do anything with that. You are just in no luck when investigating this problem, and you have to report it back to the customer to fix this, wait for the fix, and then it postpones the development time, deployment time, and everything. So Working with the proprietary software in OpenWrt, but I think in general everywhere, could be very tricky. It might work at first and everything goes well, but it could not as well. So this is one of the experiences that we had when working with the proprietary software on OpenWrt. Once when you have all of these set, then testing and providing support is the next step. In general, for example, we were doing a project for one of our customers where we had to create the front end, the web page, which would run on the PC, which you will control from the browser, and modify the behavior of the router. So what we did, we created the front end in the front end tool with the front end tools, JavaScript and everything, and then we hook it on UBus, send the JSONs through the UBus to modify the configuration files on the OpenWrt, the UCI configuration files, and it was a functional product this way. So what I would like to point here is the flexibility and the power of the existing OpenWrt tools, which you can use for creating your own projects and projects for customers. Once when we had this, we send the image back for testing. Of course, when you send the image back for testing, you get the report back with the bugs, but not only bugs, with this new set of requirements also. So you have to then implement the new set of requirements and debug it, and debug the existing ones. Implementing the new set of requirements follows the same pattern as before, and debugging, it depends on the bug report you got back. In general, OpenWrt is very easily maintainable later on, and what is here the problem is when you're working with this customer, the tasks, the tests that you perform are very customer specific, and you cannot usually use them for another customer or another cases for testing. Also what we did, also what can be done here is, for example, you can create the scripts that will run on a server and invoke in some period the UBus RPC API through OHTTPD on the router to do some changes, for example, every 24 hours. And you can also create the logs, which will then log the behavior of those changes and monitor if the system crashed, if the changes went okay. So also here, for testing, you can see that you can use the tools provided by the OpenWrt very efficiently and very reliable. What we think that should not be neglected in any case when working with the clients is good communication. It is very important to establish good sharing and communication principles and protocols with your clients. Use every means necessary to make it easier to agree on the first meeting what version control to use, how to share pre-build images, to have nightly builds or not, how would we report bugs, would we have discussion forums, etc., etc. So this is something that should never be neglected when doing OpenWrt projects and projects in general. As you might have seen from everything said here, the projects on OpenWrt, working projects on OpenWrt can be very interdisciplinary. So you might need developers, DevOps, testers, supporters, team managers when creating a solution for a customer. This also depends on the project scope. If you have to create some binary which will do some easy task, you might only use the developer for this. But if the project scope is bigger, you might need all of these, maybe even in bigger numbers, to complete the task on time. And how do we handle projects back home? In Sartura, we care about communication very much. We always do the detailed requirement talks, but if they are not so detailed, as I said, our job is to make things work at the end of the day and make things work well, so this doesn't bother us so much. We, after that, organize the team. by the principles as I said before, and start developing, deploying, testing, and everything related with that, and wait for the bugs, bug report, debugging, and adding new features in the later phases. What we also noticed, and what we do our best in a company, is in the field of the education. Since the OpenWrt is gaining more and more on the popularity, we think that the educating new team members is very important, but not only new team members and customers as well, and not only the customers that are using the OpenWrt for the first time, but those that are using it for some period of time and want to change some behavior, want to explore some new possibilities of OpenWrt and similar. So we also take care on education very much. And for the end, everything that I said. So why OpenWrt? Why would people choose OpenWrt for their projects? Because it is a Linux distribution, it is very reliable, it is very easily modified, configurable, and very easily maintained later on. And from the developer's perspective, it offers a lot of possibilities, not only when we talk about the packages, but also when we talk about development and the tools that it provides, which help you with the development process itself. After that, handling the requirements, find out what the client exactly wants, make them as more detailed as you can. If not, then you will do it. You have to do it because it is a job that we have to complete. Then obtain the OpenWrt. Clients might provide their own versions of OpenWrt. You might need to create the version of OpenWrt for your client, or you might need to port it on a different boards depending what client asks. For the unfamiliar tasks, you can always refer to the provided documentation, but you can also create the documentation yourself for the missing parts or the new documentation for some new features. You can work with, you have to know how to work with images and packages. Customers will for sure have their own versions of packages, ask their versions of packages for you to create or to modify the existing packages. After that, testing and providing support, adding new features, debugging. Communication with clients is very important part in every OpenWrt project, but in general in projects of every kind. And it is very important to organize team, interdisciplinary if needed, and also not to forget the educational part of OpenWrt on the team members and clients as well. So this is everything that I had to say. Questions? Thank you.